Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Getting caught up on Hell or High Water, which opened in limited release last week and expands this week. Matt Atchity, Christy Lemire, Alonzo Duralde. What's it about?
Hell or High Water is about two brothers played by Chris Pine and Ben Foster who are knocking over banks and they are being investigated or tracked down by a Texas Ranger played by Jeff Bridges. It's kind of a blend of the Old West and the New West and has some interesting political things to say. Let's watch a clip.
You know, the bank loan just enough to keep your mama poor. Thought they could swipe her land.
It's a big bank. It's too big. That's what she said.
Now they can foreclose on Friday. So come hell or high water,
Get the money to the bank on Thursday.
and then you are free and clear.
We walked out of this and I said to Alonzo, it's sort of a cross between No Country for Old Men and 99 Homes.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a bad thing. It's
No,
good.
no.
But
It's kind of Coen Brothers light, this movie, but that's not a bad thing to be necessarily. And I think it, as a sort of what would have once been kind of a B movie, basically, it's one of those ones that it's the kind of B movie that people talk about decades later because it's really well acted and it's the script is sharp and it's not doing anything super new, but it does what it does really well, I think.
it's one of my favorite movies of the year. It's
Wow.
way up there for me, yeah, because it's just beautifully shot, beautifully acted. I love Chris Pine. I love the versatility. I love that he will do these big Star Trek movies and then he'll do Z for Zachariah or he'll do something like this. And I love that he can do both equally well.
His interplay with Ben Foster is really great here.
It's so great. And you know Ben Foster shows up and you know he's got to be like the wild card, the crazy unpredictable wild card, but there's enough shading going on there too, and their motivation reveals itself as they
Right.
go along, that it was unpredictable, you never knew where it was going, and then I love the whole parallel storyline of Jeff Bridges tracking them.
Right.
And yeah, again, he's kind of doing Tommy Lee Jones, but that's not bad. He's doing a dude version of Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, but there's,
Rooster Cogburn.
you know, it would be it would be very easy to look at this kind of superficially, but I think there's a lot of depth to this movie. This movie, in a weird way, actually made me think of The Rover, of all things. Because The Rover to me is kind of this movie that is almost a prequel to Mad Max, right? Like this is, society's broken down and no one quite knows it yet, and only a few people have. And I felt like there's an element of that to this, because you constantly are seeing these for sale signs around homes and these need cash, and there's a level of kind of despair that's not real obvious, but it's almost like this is what it's like right before the end of society. This is West Texas breaking down, and there's a couple of, you know, the not quite lawlessness, but the concealed carry laws in Texas become part of the movie, right? In an interesting way that can be looked at satirically, but also kind of this measure of...
It's a portent of doom.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean,
That's a fair point.
This is a movie where these two guys have turned on the bank that has kind of screwed them over in a way that the citizenry of the state, without turning him into a James Gang kind of thing, kind of no one really cares, right? I get that sense. There's that great scene in the diner where Jeff Bridges is trying to do the investigation, and very notably, nobody really wants to help him, and they're all just kind of like, one of the guys like, yeah, well, that's the bank that's been robbing me for years. I don't care.
Yeah. No, and the waitress who got the big tip, which Jeff Bridges wants to take as evidence.
Right.
Katie Mixon has like one
she's
great
so
scene,
great.
Right.
one or two great scenes. Like she won't give it up. She's like, nope, I need this money.
Yeah, I got a mortgage.
But I don't think that the West Texas this film depicts is that far off. Like I don't think it's
No, I don't think
an
so
extreme,
either.
exaggerated,
No,
like
I don't think so either.
apocalyptic vision of West
No,
Texas.
and I
I
don't
feel
mean
like it's
that-
where we are
I know.
now.
I see what you're saying, though.
It's almost a cautionary tale, right? It's almost like we need to be careful, because I could see, if you're going to do the two prequel progression to the original Mad Max,
Right.
it's this movie and then The Rover and then Mad Max.
There's your film festival right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Like shit's going bad, y'all.
Absolutely, no, that stuff's all there. There's a lot of portents. You're right, all those billboards of debt relief and whatever. This movie is directed by, I'm just blanked on the guy's
David
name.
Mackenzie.
David Mackenzie, who's Scottish, who directed Startup. And there's a way that Europeans shoot Texas that is different than Americans and certainly Texans shoot Texas, where they just really love the flatness and the wideness of it. And so this movie kind of revels in that, all that sort of space, and so that's kind of cool to look at. Although
but in a different way than the Coen brothers do, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because it's a more almost eye level.
Yes,
right?
The Coens are more, I think, a little more oppressive, and this is more like, look at all this. Can
But
you
that's
even
what
believe
it looks like out there.
No, I'm not saying that they're
absolutely.
making it up. I'm just saying, but the way that it's captured by European filmmakers, you can just sort of see the way that they look at it. I like. You're right. The movie does have a lot of. It ties into. There's a whole sort of subgenre of kind of post 2008 financial crisis cinema that this firmly fits into. And the thing I really like about this movie, it's kind of like what I always mention about Die Hard. I love a movie where the scheme not only makes sense, but is like brilliant.
Yeah, this scheme makes sense.
The
and it's
scheme is like,
brilliant.
that's good.
Yeah.
You know, when it all finally unfolds and you figure out what all the steps are, you're like, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
You know, you
Chris
almost think
Pine's
like
brains of the
it's going to
operation.
spawn copycats. You
Yeah,
know?
no, it's. I mentioned really fast though. They did not shoot it in Texas. I learned.
Get out.
New Mexico.
What?
Eastern New Mexico, which is
Wow.
next to West Texas.
That's
which,
true,
Look at your
yeah.
map.
It's
They're kind of
neighboring.
similar.
Well, forget it. This movie sucks now.
topographically. But
No,
they-
I
but they
mean,
capture
El
what-
Paso practically is New
Right.
Mexico.
But
so.
they capture what those little towns feel like.
Sure.
And the cadence of the way people speak. There's one of the guys sitting in the front of a pickup truck, and Jeff Bridges hands him something. And have you seen this? He goes, "Do what?" it's such a Texas-ism.
Oh, the other waitress.
Yeah.
The what don't you want?
Oh, she's perfect.
Great.
Yeah, so it's
right.
not.
That diner scene at the T-bone steak place.
Yeah.
The dialogue, the relationship between Jeff Bridges and his partner,
Yeah.
right, Alberto,
great.
is really
Oh,
interesting.
Gil.
I'm blanking.
Shit.
Sorry.
We
You
should
were
have
great
this
in this
better.
movie.
Yes,
I'll look it
he's
up.
terrific. He's in the Twilight movies.
But there's a great bit that he talks about where where the partner Alberto is talking about the displacement of peoples and how and I don't want to give away what the story is, but it's this really telling, ironic idea about people losing their land and the history of that, and it's kind of poignant and cynical at the same time. And this is a movie that, similar to War Dogs and a lot of movies we've seen, this is arguably a very cynical movie, but it does it in a way that isn't just cynical. This movie's got something to say. And
Yeah.
it's,
Totally.
It
and
has
it's-
much more of a point of view than
and
War Dogs. For
but
sure.
it's not beating you over the head with it, right? And we talked about in our War Dogs review, we talk about The Big Short. And The Big Short is very much like, look at this insanity. Look
Here's
at
how
this
we got here.
injustice. Here's how we got here. This one is
Here's where we are.
here's where we are, and it's not. It has something to say, but it really is about the lengths that people may go to hold on to what is theirs and just to survive, right? Because it's not just about the brothers; it's about the waitress who, when she doesn't want to give up that tip, she's like, "I got a mortgage and a kid." It's you hear that come up a bunch. It's people are trying to figure out how to hold on to what little they have left.
Well, it's like, Bonnie and Clyde was, this very much set in the Depression, and the banks were considered the enemy. And so I think, and so that's part of their legend. And the people in this movie don't quite, there is the scene where they don't want to give them the information, but at the same time, as you said, the concealed carry thing kind of starts to play into it as well.
A couple things I want to mention. Gil Birmingham.
Gil Birmingham, thank
Also,
you.
we should mention Taylor Sheridan wrote this, who also wrote Sicario, which also gets Texas very well.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I love about this is the way it takes its time pacing-wise.
Yeah.
And it will hold a shot for a long time. There's the beautiful kind of like 360-degree shot at the very, very beginning as they're following Dale Dickey
Yes.
into the first bank.
Right.
And it follows her as she's pulling into the parking lot, and then you see the whole area and how depressed it is around her, and that follows her into the bank, and then it follows the robbers behind her. And it's the planning. It's show-offy, but it's simple and pure in the long tracking shots, and I love that about a movie. It will take its time like that.
No, this is really solid. Definitely a late summer surprise.
Yeah. So what are your numbers?
I never remember what it
Your
is.
number is an 8.
8.
Oh,
Yes.
that's too low. I give it a 9.5.
I'm saying 9.8. This is one of the best movies of the year, and our average is a 9.1.
It's in the 90s on the tomato meter.
98. So it's expanding. So please go find it.
Yeah,
if
go
you're
see
sick,
it.
Look
if you're
for it,
sick
go
of
see it.
comic book movies and end of summer crap, this is great. Bye.